Hola muchachos! Today's lesson is going to be on commands. The Spanish word for commands is mandatos. So we've been studying the subjunctive, and I'd like us just to pause for a minute and sort of compare and talk about the difference between commands and subjunctive. Commands are very straightforward. Don't do that. Give me the pen. You are commanding someone to do an action. That's different from the subjunctive, where you're being much more polite. I recommend you give me the pen. Okay? It's a shame that you're doing that, etc., etc. So with a command, there's none of this formulaic way of creating a sentence like the S1V1K, S2V2. Commands are just straight up one word, do this action or don't do this action. So we're going to fill in our notes. Going from here, obviously anything in yellow, please go ahead and fill that in. We're only going to be focusing on usted and ustedes commands. So we use these commands when we are talking to one adult or a stranger, someone we don't know, or a group of friends, or a group of adults, again, or strangers, people we don't know. Now, you may be saying, well, wait a minute, what's the whole point of vosotros? Yes, there is something called a vosotros command that you would use when talking to a group of friends. However, it's only used in Spain. Therefore, it's really not very common, and we've just decided to teach you the ustedes commands because that's widely accepted in every country. So if you're talking to a group of friends and use ustedes, you're always going to be understood. So this is actually going to be very easy for you comparatively because we just finished the subjunctive and it's the exact same formation. So let's recap that. To form a formal command, you just follow the steps, conjugate into the yo form, drop the o, and then add your opposite ending. Again, for AR verbs, they now end in e's. For ER and IR verbs, they now end in a's. For example, tengo, tang, be tenga, or tengan. For cargars are verbs, again, same as last chapter. C goes to QUE, G goes to GUE, Z goes to CE. Now we learned when doing subjunctive that you have to take this change in all 6 forms of the verb, which is true. However, we're only focusing on usted and ustedes commands, so just keep in mind that this change will occur in both of those 2 forms. Irregular verbs. These are our dishes verbs. Okay, you can't use the yo form as the base. For dar goes to de, den. Ir goes vaya, vayan. Saber, sepa, sepan. Estar, esté, estén. Ser, sea, sean. Okay, let's take a look at what we're going to do with reflexive pronouns. Pronouns, we're going to get into that a little bit deeper, but reflexive pronouns I think we have a pretty good handle on. These are pronouns that we use to reflect an action back on ourselves, meaning we are doing the action to ourselves. When you're doing an affirmative command, which is telling someone to do something, the reflexive pronoun is going to attach to the end of the verb. For example, bañese, bañense. Bañense, sorry. This is very different from what we've always learned about pronoun placement. We've been training you for years that the pronouns come in front of the verb. And they do in most cases, however, not with affirmative commands. An accent is required on the second to last vowel of the verb without considering the pronoun as part of the verb. So what I usually tell students is put your thumb over the pronoun, put your thumb over the say, and what's the last vowel? E. Second to last vowel? A. Mark your accent. You're only going to add the accent if you attach a pronoun. For negatives, the reflexive pronoun comes before the verb. No se bañe, no se bañen, and there is no need for an accent when doing a negative command with a pronoun. Okay, so let's move on now to another page and continue with our notes for commands.
Hola muchachos! Okay, today's flip grammar lesson is going to be on commands and pronoun placement. So, as usual, please copy down everything that is highlighted in yellow. Okay, so direct object, indirect object, and reflexive pronouns are placed before the verb with the negative commands. Object pronouns follow affirmative commands and are attached to them at the end. So remember, negative, the pronoun comes in front. Affirmative, the pronoun is attached to the end. Now you may be saying, well, I don't understand what a pronoun is or the difference between direct and indirect or reflexive. So here we go. Let's recap that information. Direct object pronouns. Me, te, lo, and la are the singulars. Me is for me, te is for you. Lo has a double meaning. It could mean it or it could mean him. La also has a double meaning. It or her. The plurals. Nos, os, los, and las. Nos stands for us. Os is you all. And los is for them. Las is for them. Indirect object pronouns. These are a little bit different. Okay, because they have the words to and for in front. So, similar, me, te, but now it's going to be le. And that stands for to or for me, to or for you, to or for him or her. There's no differentiation here. Like the lo, la was for him and her. It's just le for both genders. Nos, os, and les are the plurals. Nos is to or for us. Os, to or for y'all. Les, to or for them. And the last section are reflexive pronouns. These I think we know pretty well because we went over these at the beginning of the year, plus they were a major topic from level 2. Me, te, and se are the singulars. To myself, to yourself, to himself, or to herself. Again, se is the same regardless of gender. Plurals. Nos, os, se. To ourselves, to yourselves, which is a group of yourselves, and to themselves. So now, let's look at 3 examples. The first one is a direct object pronoun example. Cómprala. I did that in the to command. That's why the verb ends in the letter A, compra. We cover up the pronoun la and we count back to the second to last vowel, which is the O, and mark the accent. Now go for an indirect object pronoun. Denme el dinero. Give to me the money. Now in English we don't usually say to me, we just say give me the money. But it's implied that you're giving it to me, therefore we use the indirect. Now I used den because I was conjugating with an ustedes command. Ustedes commands are formed the same way the subjunctive is formed. Okay? This is an irregular verb. We do not need to add an accent mark because there is no second to last vowel after we cover up the pronoun. It's just the letter E. The last example is the reflexive pronoun. Lávese las manos. I did that in usted command. That's why if for an AR verb, we go to the O form, lavo, drop the O, opposite vowel, lave. I added the se to agree with usted. I covered it up, counted back to the second to last vowel, which is the A, and I marked my accent. Now, what if we have double object pronouns? Well, if there is a direct object pronoun and an indirect object pronoun in the same sentence, the indirect object pronoun, or as I call it the IOP, goes in front of the DOP. So for example, tráigamelo, bring it to me. The to me comes first, and then the it. We cover up the me and the lo, count back to the second to last vowel. However, in this sense, it's going to be the A because the A and the I together combined make a diphthong, which is really like one solid vowel sound. Now, when two pronouns are third person, change the indirect object pronoun to se instead of using le. Instead of saying mandelelo, we don't say the le, they change it to mandeselo. Again, cover up the se and the lo, count back to the second to last vowel, and mark your accent. Now, let's look at some examples. Okay, so the direct object pronoun refers to it or them, and it directly receives the action of the verb. Recoja la basura. Pick up the garbage. Recójala. Pick it up. It refers to the garbage. Construir los puentes in the usted form. Okay, so construya is the conjugation because it's a Y verb in the irregular yo. Okay. Now, we're going to replace the word puentes with the pronoun los, which is a direct object pronoun. Then we cover it up, count back to the second to last vowel, and mark your accent.
Yeah, she was in Webster.
Resolver el problema. We're going to do the ustedes form.
I do, because my neighbor.
Resuelvo, drop the O, opposite vowel, resuelvan. The pronoun that we're going to use to replace the word el problema is lo. Count back, second to last vowel, mark your accent, resuelvanlo.
She was very weak.
Traer, ellos, and we're going to do the to form. Okay, what we're trying to say is bring them.
But they were still talking.
Tráelos.
Thing.
We did the regular indicative because it's a to command in the he, she form. Trae. Los is the pronoun. Count back second to last vowel and mark your accent. Okay, now let's look at the indirect object pronouns. These tell to whom or for whom the action is being performed. De el regalo a las chicas. Give the gifts to the girls. Well, if we wanted to say, give the gift to them. Deles el regalo. The les is the to them. Okay, and it replaces the girls. So if we did decir a tu madre, or su madre, sorry, la verdad, in the usted form. The usted form of decir is going to be diga. Then, a su madre, the indirect object pronoun, is going to be le. Dígale la verdad. Cover up le, go back second to last vowel, mark your accent. Ver, in the ustedes form. Vean. We're going to find the ILP to replace los chicos. Véanles en la tienda. Cover up the pronoun, second to last vowel, mark your accent. Llamar a mí mañana, we're going to do the to, so that's the indicative, the he, she form in the indicative. Llama. And the pronoun to replace a mí is me. So llámame mañana. Cover up the pronoun, second to last vowel takes the accent. Now, in these 6 practices we just did, we didn't do any negatives. However, I will just say briefly, if there were negative commands, all of the pronouns would come at the beginning of the verb, not attached, and then we would not have to worry about those accents. Okay, hasta luego.